We proceed to the next segment or the next session altogether once we get a hold of our guests this morning. Honorable Jeremiah Kioni and Communications Advisor Dr. Barak Muluka will be joining us for that, and then later on we discuss matters, persons with disabilities and how we get to support them, how we get to strengthen them at this point in time, especially on matters COVID-19. That is towards the last laps of the program from 8 a.m. all the way to 9 a.m. Let's first look at the People Daily. At the Daily Nation, and the front page of the Daily Nation, Sharon Obado goes on trial in July. That's Sharon, yes, Obado goes on trial in July, and that's a story captured on page 8. Still in search for justice for Sharon. So much has been happening. There's been so much silence equally, and many asking just what played out in terms of getting justice. Most of these heinous acts that have played out, people being murdered. I mean, it's not clear who does such things, and it vanishes in thin air, is something that needs to be discouraged. So we'll be following up on that to keep you up to speed. Police warning, a police check curfew nightmare, traffic management to be reviewed. A story captured on the back page of the Daily Nation. You are privy to what it is that played out along Thika Road. That should be on Saturday night. Most of the people had to spend hours and hours, and some of them actually sleeping on the road because, it wasn't easy with them, with the boundaries that were set on board by the policemen because of the traffic police, because they had flouted the rules. We all are privy to the fact that, by 8, you're not supposed to be out, but then most of the Kenyans were caught on traffic. Such has always been the case for quite a while now, but it looks like, the forces are now out to make sure that such is not going to be the case. So in most cases, prepare yourself early enough so that you're not caught on this. And a different story altogether on a matters survey that has been released by InfoTrack says, where is Kenya headed? 3 in 5 Kenyans think that the country is headed in the wrong direction, citing the high cost of living, unemployment, and how the government has handled the COVID-19 pandemic. This is according to an opinion poll conducted by InfoTrack, as I have said, and it's a story captured on page 12. We'll be looking at that as we proceed. Yes, it's all in black and white. The things are not as rosy in the country. Leaders form 11-member team to work out details of the agreement. What agreement are we looking at? 2022 poll strategies, and members of parliament ignite talks to craft Ruto deal. On Friday and Saturday, some 48 lawmakers, mostly from Mount Kenya and Rift Valley regions, were out there, and they met at the home of Madeira legislator, that is Rigathi Gachagua, to discuss economic and political demands they once agreed with DP William Ruto. A story captured on page 7. This is what will be driving our conversation this morning, so make sure that you are part and parcel of it. As private schools cry foul, PS1 blames the COVID-19 pandemic. The government has denied engaging in manipulation of the KCPE results in favor of public primary schools. And even as owners of private academies raised questions over the sudden dip in performance of their institutions, private schools have for decades produced the bulk of top students in national exams, but public institutions turned the tables on them in the last year's KCPE results. And a story captured on page 10. Still, of course, looking at what played out and the results and how quick they were marked. And the top students, even as they find themselves into their respective schools of choice, which is not what will play out in totality. There could be some changes. In most cases, it's not like you will get that chance to go to the school that you chose. And yes, on matters Olympics, and Kenya's Olympic champion and world marathon record holder Eliud Kipchoge crossed the finish line to win the NM Marathon Mission race at the 20 airport in Utrecht, the Netherlands. That was yesterday. A story captured on page 40. Yesterday is a Sunday, and quite an incredible win right there, even as we look forward for the Olympics that are slated or are set to happen somewhere in July, that is from the 23rd and 24th. Yes, we'll be following up on the same also on our sports desk to keep you up to speed. Congratulations to Eliud. And another story of triumph, Tamalaki boy with indomitable spirit. He spent 50 days in hospital after cheating death that is in a car accident and never stepped in class, that is since June 2020, but went on to score 391 marks in KCPE. Like I have said, we're still looking at the gains and the problems that have played out in the past KCPE examinations and the results. And I mean, this is one that needs to certainly be celebrated. And on matters COVID-19, some 100,000 vials to get waste. Kenya estimates 10% vaccine wastage amid biting shortage, and wastage may occur when a closed vaccine cannot be used primarily due to ineffective temperature control, that is during storage. A story captured on page 4. We all know what needs to happen, that even when probably one is open, then I mean it should be used like immediately, as opposed to it being kept somewhere. So the storage purposes, something in question. We certainly hope that this is not going to play out, or the numbers are not going to be as big. And here we are, the People Daily. Caught in curfew crackdown, hundreds of motorists spent Saturday night in the cold after police officers barricaded roads to rein in curfew breakers. Law enforcers vowed regular action despite the inconveniences. A story captured on page 7. We'll look at that later on. Mount Kenya MPs list demands to back Ruto. More or less the same stories as captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. 60 leaders from the region have formed 2 committees to steer the negotiations around the economy and 2022 positions. A story captured on page 4, and we discuss that as we proceed. Why Kenyans feel country is going in wrong direction. Also that survey by InfoTrack, and we'll be looking at more on what has been captured on the Standard newspaper even as we proceed with the broadcast, just to keep you up to speed in regards to all this, and that should be alongside the guests of the day. And before we get to open that, it's acting up for a moment, but then again, I'm sure we'll be having that. If not that, then the hard copies will be here with us, and we'll definitely get a hold of the same. So away from it, let's briefly look at what the roads look like.